denizens of the dark, cloaked in blackest shadow. We are the fallen angels, soaring through ebon skies upon ravens' wings. We are the wolves that prowl the midnight hours to prey upon the harmless. We are the descendants of the dragon's blood, the keepers of the ancient flame. We are the chosen ones, who dare to explore the mysteries of the unseen realms. We are Legion, for we are many, and united, we cannot be vanquished.
You're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. That's the signpost up ahead. Your next stop, the Twilight Zone.
Okay, first thing I should address here is something that keeps getting blown off. That has to do with a certain individual whose name was Nikko Jenkins. According to official accounts, and I quote, Jenkins stated that he had committed the killings at the command of the ancient serpent god Apophis. Now once again I reiterate, that is me that you're talking about. As Apophis was the name the Egyptians gave me when I was released from my being cast into the bottomless pit where I became the Babylonian serpent god, Set. There I sat for 1,000 years, the Babylonians seeing that I lingered between the living realm and the dead, believing I had power over the dead. When I was finally released, I swore that on that day the sun would turn black, fire would rain from the skies and destroy his precious cities men had built under his guidance, and from these threats the legend of Apophis was built, the Djalan. Persian cultures, which is one of the names scrawled into the Abraxas stones, that is a name associated to what is sealed behind the black gate of Tartarus deep within. So now that you have a bit of the history behind who I am, Mr. Jenkins, I have to say this. I do not personally know of you nor any requests to have come from you before these murders. For two, if you knew the practice of worship when it came to those who worshipped me, those victims were offered in sacrifice, with their necks slit and their blood spilled before me upon the altar, and it was usually done for the power to transcend death and return to the living. So unless these murders were carried out in the fashion here, as per the ancient rituals that have been lost to the world, thanks to Sargon and his conquests, for going on for 1,500 years now, you are no true worshipper of Set. These kinds of incidents are the reason why I make such a stand to the truth of my name. Granted, Hollywood has made some entertaining material from the degradation done to my name, but it also promotes false impressions that can lead up to holy wars, crusades, jihads, and extremist violence way beyond what you are trying to pull off here. So trust me, Mr. Jenkins, it's not that I do not find your soul unwanted, quite the contrary. A soul like yours would be ideal in the times ahead. Just because you're locked up does not mean you're not of any use to me. You should realize that concrete walls cannot contain nor hinder my agenda. Pick up a pen and let the evil within you guide your imagination, and let the true will of Set be heard. Let my fangs dig deep in the veins of your enemies and shake them loose of their mortal coil. But if you're going to do it legit and stop shaming my name, or you will be the next to feel the wrath of my fury, just as Ra did on that day I was set loose. Okay, Joachim, I'm done. Back to your agenda. Yes. Another event I was a witness to. The tale of Daniel and the lions of Nebuchadnezzar. Now of the many events that occurred that I saw, this event has always been quite accurate as it was told. I remember that his friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had been taken captive and were to be executed for their religious beliefs in the God of the Hebrews, Jehovah. Nebuchadnezzar was highly against the Hebrews at the time, as they had begun a revolt in some districts against the enslavement and treatment of his people. His friends were well known to speak out against this treatment, and so he was not surprised when he learned that they had been taken to the Colosseum to be killed. But as fast as Daniel could travel, he knew that he would not make it in time to save his friends, so he sent out a prayer to the God of the great mountain, Jehovah, and asked that he spare his friends from being harmed until he got there. Hearing his prayer, the Lord sent an angel to comfort him in his dreams and told him not to worry, that the Lord had sent him to ensure that no harm would come to them, and that he would travel ahead of him to make sure of this. Daniel arrived to the Colosseum to find that his friends were being brought up before Nebuchadnezzar. He heard their crimes for speaking falsely against the actions of his people against the Hebrews, and discovered they were followers of the Hebrew God. He laughed in delight and boasted that he had sent many of those who believed in the Hebrew God to be killed, and no omens had fallen to him for it yet. That is when Daniel approached the soldiers who guarded the front podium, and the angel spoke to him and said, "Worry not, Daniel, and do not fear. For I shall work through you now to plead for the release of your friends, and if he refuses, then the Lord shall send a plague upon him and his court, for he has killed many of your people. But the Lord is with you this day, Daniel, and I have been instructed to let no harm come to you or your friends." Daniel let the angel speak through him, and he said, "O great Nebuchadnezzar, a wise ruler would not surely cast aside his own servants to be killed in such a way. A strong ruler is measured by the strength of his faithful people, from the highest of your ranks to the lowest of your servants. I, wise ruler such as you, would not carelessly throw away such things as if they were of no value. Please, I beseech you to spare their lives, and they shall be faithful servants to your house for all their days." And Nebuchadnezzar said, "Tell me, boy, even if I were to consider this, how would you be able to assure me of their loyalty and servitude?" Daniel said, "I swear by my word, not as a Hebrew in bondage, but a Hebrew of the line of David, and my word is my bond, so you know that it is true." Nebuchadnezzar said, "But I have already lit the fires of my pit. It would be a waste not to use my resources as I had intended." Then Daniel took a few more steps forward and said, "I shall ask you again to let them go, for I come in the name of Jehovah, our God, who has asked me to request this of you." Nebuchadnezzar began to become irritated and said, "You dare to come into my presence and make demands on behalf of your God without paying homage. I will consider your request if you vow to take their place in servitude." Daniel said firmly, "I cannot offer myself into bondage, for it is forbidden. I am of the line of David, and so you know that you cannot request this of me." Then the angel spoke directly through Daniel to Nebuchadnezzar and said, "Have you forgotten, O bright morning star, to your people, who placed the crown upon thy head and made you the leader of your people? Or how far you have fallen to have forgotten the oath between your people and the Hebrews, that no bloodline of the tribes of Judah are to ever be held in bondage as servants, for they are the descendants of David. That every good luxury you enjoy came at the sacrifice of many Hebrew lives who fell before the armies of the Philistines, and your father made this oath as a peace between your people for their sacrifice. You were adorned with every precious gemstone as you had inherited this duty from your father when you took up the throne. And now you have tainted that oath and forsaken your father's name by the blood you have spilled here, and so you must be cast down as the unclean thing that you have become." With these words Nebuchadnezzar erupted in fury, and kicked Shadrach into the blazing pit, and since they were chained together they each fell into the fire one after the other. Nebuchadnezzar then grabbed Daniel as he said, "If your God is so mighty, then let us see if he will save you from the flames. Your God is not here today, descendant of David." And then tossed him into the pit. When he looked into the fire, however, he saw all four of them standing there, unharmed and free from their bonds that had burned away from the flames. They stood there amazed when the angel appeared with them in the fire and said, "Come, walk out of the fire, for it will not harm you." Meshach asked, "Who are you?" And the angel replied, "My name is Gabriel, and I have come to deliver you from harm. Come." And they walked from out of the fire. Everybody in the Colosseum went silent, and Nebuchadnezzar ordered his soldiers to seize them. He separated Daniel from them and said, "I do not know what magics have allowed you to achieve such an illusion, but they will not save you." Then Nebuchadnezzar had them open the lion's den. Gabriel told Daniel, "Do not fear and have faith. You shall come to no harm," and then vanished. They tossed Daniel in first, then each of his friends. When all of them were cast into the pit, they saw Gabriel, who was irradiant with light and was walking by the lions, placing his hand on their heads as they would then fall asleep. Gabriel gestured for them to follow him, but Daniel's friends were frozen in fear. Daniel said to them, "Remember the fire. Jehovah has commanded that no harm come to us, so we must have faith that his word is true and walk from out of here. Come, my friends, let us follow the angel." As they approached the gate, Gabriel walked through the bars and put the guard to sleep and unlocked the door for them. "Come and follow me," he said. They left from the prison cellar, and the streets had erupted in chaos. Gabriel explained that an uprising had occurred due to the words of Daniel in the Colosseum, and soon Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom would fall because of his hardened heart against his people. The angel said to follow him to safety to the outskirts of the city where it would be safe. And there they parted ways with the angel. That was the story told to me by the angel Gabriel, begrudgingly considering our recent past, but now I see the reason why our conflict had occurred and the underlying reason of it. Fine, then begone, you fragile-faced baby diaper nugget factory, and by the way, thank you.
Fetid fields, revealing husks of lovers past. The shells are all that ever last. I've taken everything that they've concealed. When I told you life was fair, look around you everywhere. The cruelty of nature is displayed. on my plate. Here, when no one hears your cries. Where was your God to steer you through? Perhaps your God's forsaken you. Otherwise, why lead you here to die?
Merely moments now until your feeble flesh bends to my will, and it will, so rest your weary head. There'll be no pain at all, as everything you are dissolves, your fate resolved upon my silky